Wizard. That's the only way to describe the skills of countless members of the Revenge of the Sith slow running community. By now, most people know about speedrunning. However, a question began to emerge in the subset of the speedrunning community. How slowly can I finish this game? Revenge of the Sith slow runs have the precision of a PS Vita Henkaku % speedrun combined with the glitches and tricks of an American Dad speedrun. And for the past 19 years, a dedicated underground community of runners have been battling each other to take the game to its maximum length. Welcome to the world of Revenge of the Sith slow running. First, let's clear up any confusion with the timeline of the series. Revenge of the Sith is a game that originally released on the PS2 and Xbox on May 5th, 2005. It's a third-person action game, and this is the version that most people are familiar with. However, most people aren't familiar with the remake of the game that released on May 19th, 2005. This is the version that we are going to talk about first. This version of the game functions as a sort of extended QTE cutscene, which is why the graphics are so incredible for such an old game. We will be covering the NTSC version of this game, which runs at 23.976 frames per second. And if you fail a QTE, then you have to restart the entire run, according to the rules on slowrun.com. So, slow running the game is extremely difficult. It involves accessing secret levels, executing frame-perfect glitches, and abusing the controller detection system of the game. The first slow run of the game was in May of 2005 by A Digital Man, who was a very big player in the early days of the slow running community. A normal playthrough of the game takes 2 hours and 20 minutes, but A Digital Man ran the game in an astonishing 2 hours and 30 minutes. This run was impressive for a number of reasons. First of all, it was completed almost immediately after the game's release. From what I can gather about this run, A Digital Man was able to access several secret levels and areas by abusing the controller detection system on the PS2. There's just one problem with this run. I can't seem to find a copy of it anywhere. A Digital Man vanished from the community a long time ago. The only run I can find from him clocks in at 2 hours, 25 minutes, 29 seconds, and 13 frames. An impressive run nonetheless. So, is he a stinky baby cheats a lot? Let me know in the comments down below. To further complicate matters, the game received a remaster in October of 2014 for the PS4. Among other things, the game received some graphical improvements, such as retexturing the tops of the Wookiee huts on Kashyyyk. This is the version people run to this day because the resolution is much higher, and 4 of those deleted levels were reintroduced into the game as Easter eggs. So it was actually much easier to access them, and in July of 2017, user Octorox created the first world record slow run in 2 hours, 25 minutes, 20 seconds, and 18 frames. Octorox was able to access 3 secret levels featuring Padme and 1 featuring Yoda. These levels are pretty well known and are intended to be Easter eggs for the other games. By setting the calendar on his console to May 25th, Octorox was able to access these secret levels and increase the length of the run by over 5 minutes. However, a new challenger had aspirations of the Revenge of the Sith slow running record. Let me introduce you to Bobson Dugnut. Another accomplished slow runner of several other games, Bobson Dugnut was up to the task, and in July of 2020, he crushed Octorox's record by running the game in an astonishing 2 hours, 29 minutes, 36 seconds, and 7 frames. Bobson Dugnut expertly accessed all the secret levels and completed all QTEs precisely. So, thus far, it seems that Bobson Dugnut is still following all the rules of the game. He was just cleaning up the glitches and tricks of previous runners. But no, there's more Bobson Dugnut did we have yet to discuss, because Revenge of the Sith is a broken game. Bobson Dugnut was able to access a cutscene from the original PS2 release of the game from all the way back in May of 2005. This was originally thought to be impossible by other high-level players at the time. This strategy, known as Count Dooku 3, or CD3, was discovered by examining the game's files. Bobson Dugnut found that although the remake and remaster of the game did not utilize this sequence, it was still present in the game's files. The developers had just disabled it, but Bobson Dugnut found a way to access it by intentionally failing a QTE on a very precise frame. The QTE in question is when Anakin turns his lightsaber on. You are given around 117 frames to complete this QTE, but remember when I said the game runs at 23.976 frames per second, and not exactly 24 frames per second? Well, games are not very good at handling decimals, so the game's code actually rounds to the nearest whole number, thus giving you a fraction of an extra frame. If you miss the QTE, the game will obviously restart like it always does. However, the game actually reverts back to the original code during this fraction of a frame window. So if you are able to complete the QTE during this fraction of a frame, then the game will count the QTE as completed. However, the leftover code from the PS2 release of the game has already kicked in, and the game plays this segment.
Just because there are 2 of you, do not assume you have the advantage.
Once this is complete, you are able to resume the game as normal because the game is able to reorient itself in between the QTEs. Another trick Bobson Dugnut used is called Grieve Cheese. This occurs during the series of levels where you have to rescue the Chancellor, and originally it was thought to be impossible to extend this section when playing the remastered version. This had only been accomplished in A Digital Man's alleged 2-hour 30-minute run, and he was running the original PS2 release. This trick involves accessing the remains of a deleted secret 5th level. This level was originally intended to be one of the secret levels you could access by changing the console's calendar, but it was never fully completed. However, you can actually still access this level in the remaster. This can be done by attempting to skip the following cutscene while the game is still loading in the new area, that being the cutscene preceding the duel between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku. Obviously, we don't actually want to skip the cutscene, but by attempting to skip the cutscene while the game is still loading, the game tries to push you into the next level. However, the level it pushes you into is the deleted General Grievous level. The reason for this is that each level is given a specific value within the game's code. After the developers decided that the General Grievous level was not going to be included, they did not want to reprogram each level with a new value, since the release of the game was so close. So they instead chose to simply disable the level by removing this value from the code, similar to what happened with CD3. However, they missed a crucial spot in the code, that being the RNG value. This value can be anywhere from 0 to 65,535. If you get an RNG value of 24,737, then it will skip into the deleted secret level because this value correlates to the deleted General Grievous level. The game mistakes the RNG value for the value of the next level it's attempting to load. This trick is extremely difficult to pull off, and because of the RNG element, it is rarely used to this day, despite the time it adds to the run. There are several other tricks that Bobson Dugnut utilized during this run. However, these are the main tricks that differentiate it from Octorox's run. On March 23, 2024, YouTube user Porcula uploaded a video titled "Every Single Exploit in Revenge of the Sith." This video attempted to demonstrate every single slow run exploit within the game. There are a lot of tricks in this video, and most of them involve extending a pre-existing QTE segment by performing the QTE one more time than was originally intended. For example, Obi-Wan has an extended QTE where he destroys the third battle droid. This QTE was never intended to last this long, but if you execute the QTE again even though the game does not prompt you to do so, the game will have Obi-Wan destroy the final battle droid. Going over all these tricks would take hours, and to further complicate matters, this video was made obsolete almost immediately because just a few days after this video, YouTube user Finn the Clone Trooper 5039 discovered several more exploits during the Obi-Wan vs. Grievous level and Yoda vs. Palpatine level. And yet, Porcula has failed to change the title of his video to indicate that this is in fact not an exhaustive list of glitches and tricks. It's clear that the Obi-Wan vs. Grievous level was becoming one of the most crucial and difficult levels of the game. Porcula's original video featured 7 new glitches and tricks, and Finn the Clone Trooper 5039's video featured an additional 4. Combining Porcula's tricks with Finn the Clone Trooper 5039's tricks gives a total of 11 during the Obi-Wan vs. Grievous level. With this level so late in the game, it's becoming a grueling gauntlet of glitches, and to this day, nobody has been able to successfully implement all of these tricks into a full run. This is not even mentioning the glitches during both the Yoda vs. Palpatine level and the Obi-Wan vs. Anakin level. But what about the other categories of Revenge of the Sith slow running? There are 3 different categories: Any percent, which uses the base game, Clone Wars percent, or CW percent, which allows the use of the Clone Wars DLC, and then there's Clone Wars Bad Batch percent, or CWBB percent, which allows for the use of both Clone Wars DLC and the Bad Batch DLC. Now, I've mostly been focusing on Any percent because the CW percent and CWBB percent runs can easily get into 5 or even 6 hour territory. Even though this video is long, I've barely scratched the surface of this game. With so many talented people running the game, the future is very bright. But you might be wondering, what happened to the user Porcula? Well, he's me, and I've got another glitch to share with you. I'm dubbing this Magnagard 1, or MG1. This trick can be done in a similar way to the trick where Obi-Wan destroys the third battle droid during the hangar level. Basically, you want to attempt to complete the QTE another time even though the game isn't prompting you to do so. This will make Obi-Wan engage the Magnagard again earlier than the game intended, thus extending your run by around 1 second. There are several other glitches and tricks that I and many others have discovered since my initial video, and I believe this is only the beginning. Could a 3 or even 4 hour Any percent run be possible? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, With such a thriving community, it's not over yet.